A man by the name of Karl Barth. Some of you may have heard him. He's a theologian, and he lived during the early 1900s. He was considered the greatest theologian alive during that time. He wrote 60 volumes of theological material. 60 volumes. And one day, one of his colleagues came to him and said, "Barth, what is the greatest thought in all of this that you've ever had?" And he said, "Jesus loves me. This I know, for the Bible tells me so." I read a story about a man by the name of C.D. Hill, who's a preacher in Washington, D.C. during the 60s. And C.D. Hill preached up there during the riotings and the riots that went on up there. And he stood before his congregation, such as I am today, and he pleaded with them and begged with them not to be involved in those riots, in that rioting. But the more he preached and the more he begged and the more he pleaded, it seemed like the more involved they became. And he started preaching harder. And suddenly he started receiving letters threatening him. Phone calls threatening him. Then one night, pretty late, he received a phone call, and there's silence on his end of the phone. He hung it up. His wife said, "Who was that?" He said, "It was nothing, nobody." She said, "Yes, it was." Said, "You tell me now, I want to know who that was." He said, "Okay." He said, "It was someone that is threatening to blow up my car with me in it." Well, they talked about it, prayed about it, went on to bed, went to sleep. The next morning he woke up. His wife wasn't in the bed. He couldn't find her anywhere in the house. He looked everywhere for her. All of a sudden he looked out the kitchen window and he saw her driving up in the car into the driveway. He said that from that point on, I never had to ask, "Honey, do you love me?" He said, "I just knew. Honey, do you love me?" You see, Jesus took the car and drove it around the block for us. But his car blew up. He died so that you and I might be able to live. That's love, and that's the love of God.